2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest this past week.
The deputy city attorney says after weeks of investigating, there's not enough evidence to charge anyone in this case. He started by outlining what police found while investigating. They say there was some surveillance video of a few trucks driving by loudly, but not of anyone yelling the N-word on their walk to dinner that night. The reports say there were 5 people who saw it happen, but they couldn't give enough of a description for police to find the person. After dinner, though, police found video of a car driving by the team yelling racial slurs and sexual comments. The team's coach talked about what happened in a press conference back in March.
No one knew how to handle it, and it was really upsetting. And for our players and staff to not feel safe in an NCAA tournament environment, it's messed up.
Police figured out the person who yelled those slurs was an 18-year-old Post Falls high school student, Anthony Myers. From there, police looked into 3 potential charges for Myers: disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct, and malicious harassment. Prosecutors say malicious harassment has to have a, quote, intent to intimidate. According to investigators, Myers and the other people in the car say they were just trying to be funny. The city prosecutor says while it is, quote, absurd to think something like that is funny, it doesn't show that malintent. Plus, they say there was no believable threat of physical harm or property damage. As for the other 2 charges, the prosecutor says it comes down to speech versus conduct. They say Myers actually yelling out or revving an engine isn't loud or unusual on a busy street. The prosecutor says free speech makes it so they can't actually talk about what Myers said, so he says there's no chance of convincing a jury just yelling out the car window is tumultuous or offensive. In the end, the statement says the prosecutor's office is also upset and condemns speech like this, but is not going to criminally prosecute Myers.
This story continues to weigh on the Coeur d'Alene community, and today, city leaders say they are disappointed the suspect won't face any legal accountability for his actions. Mayor Jim Hammond told me over the phone today he's not second-guessing the city prosecutor, but he had hoped the suspect would at least face some level of accountability. Hammond says this alleged racial incident continues to hurt the community and its local businesses. He says he's received letters from people who say they've changed their mind about visiting Coeur d'Alene this summer.
I had hoped that something could be done to hold them accountable, and it may have been funny to them, but it wasn't funny to the community, and it was harmful in many different ways.
City Council member Christy Wood says she too is disappointed there won't be charges filed against the suspect, but she respects the review of the incident by the prosecutor. Wood is a retired sergeant with Coeur d'Alene Police Department. She is currently the vice president of the Kootenai County Task Force on Human Relations after previously serving as president for 16 years. Based on her law enforcement experience, Wood says this investigation had its challenges.
In this case, they really had difficulty even locating witnesses, and they finally were able to do that. And then they had hours and hours of video surveillance to comb through and audio. And so it's just very labor intensive. And then, of course, the chief sent them to Utah, the detectives, to actually interview some of the victims and witnesses.
Councilmember Wood told me she does expect public comment on this to come up at tonight's city council meeting. She says to begin healing and moving forward, her message to the community is to focus on the message of respect, dignity, and inclusion for all. Reporting in Coeur d'Alene, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
So we've seen this picture before of the car police were able to track down. Now we have actual video of when the car drove by the Utah women's basketball team. So we've known for a few days now what it is that 18-year-old Anthony Myers yelled out of the car there. The prosecutor's office had it in their report from Monday, but it was so explicit there wasn't a way that we could say any of it on television. And now, like you heard, we also had to cover most of the audio from the video. Even with this video, the Coeur d'Alene prosecutor's office decided not to charge Myers. They had considered 3 potential charges for him. 1, disturbing the peace or the disorderly conduct, and malicious harassment. Prosecutors said in their report, while they don't condone what Myers said, it wasn't enough to be a crime. Yesterday, our Mark Hanrahan talked to a criminal defense attorney from Spokane. He isn't part of this case, but says based on what he's seen, he thinks it could have gone either way.
You know, I think that you put those two things together, the sexual component of it with the racial component of it. I certainly think that it would have been well within his rights to try to prosecute this case. But having considered all the facts in his judgment, he determined he wasn't going to do that.
The prosecutor's office said it came down to intent. In order to charge for malicious harassment, there needs to be a credible threat. And as for the other two charges, they said on a busy downtown street, just yelling out the window isn't tumultuous or offensive. And they say they couldn't prove there were any children around. So those teenagers jumped into the water off of the orange South Howard Street bridge here at Riverfront Park. One of them ended up getting stuck underwater right near that gate behind me here. He ended up being underwater for about an hour before the sound of emergency vehicles.
I mean, it was pretty messed up.
Riverfront Park filled with cries for help.
All of a sudden, we hear like screaming and someone saying, "Help me."
Isaiah Battles was in the park when the four teenagers jumped into the Spokane River.
I mean, I was taking my stuff out of my pockets. I was gonna jump in, but he was gone.
The Spokane Fire Department says they got the call at 6:58 and were here within 4 minutes.
The dive team from the sheriff's office and then our water rescue team and the Spokane Valley Fire Department water rescue team responded.
But it wasn't until almost an hour later the dive team was able to pull the teenager out of the water.
When you get in this cold of water, it can take over. It can essentially kind of freeze your muscles. You can panic, that it's hard to breathe.
So the other three kids are physically okay, and the fire department says it seems like they just jumped in the water to have some fun. In Spokane, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
I'm on the Howard Street Bridge where a makeshift memorial has been made for the teen who died. Take a look. People have been on the bridge all day long, writing with chalk, remembering the teen who died. Now this is the bridge where 4 teens jumped off of.
The Spokane Fire Department says what happened Wednesday night is a reminder that the Spokane River is more dangerous than it looks.
We have multiple fatalities a year in the Spokane River.
Jeremy Morash is a captain for Fire Station 3. Spokane Fire Station 2 and 3 are the only stations in the city with water rescue apparatus.
Most stations we try to get out the door in 60 seconds for a call, but obviously when we're putting on all of our gear here at the water rescue stations, it takes us a few minutes more to get out the door.
Morash says even if the water seems calm, there are strong currents underneath the surface. The water temperature is much colder than it appears and can make an impact even if you consider yourself a strong swimmer.
The cold water effects on your body is definitely muscle cramping is the biggest concern. Loss of mobility, loss of function.
The fire department says the best ways to stay safe is to always wear a life jacket, don't go alone, and swim in designated areas.
If you're jumping off a bridge or something and you think, you've looked at the water by the shore, it's not moving very fast, so the center channel can be moving quite a bit faster.
The area where the teens jumped into the water does have danger signs up. The signs say stay out and stay alive.
The current is definitely a risk, and then the temperature, and right now we've got both of those coming together to just make it very dangerous.
The Spokane Fire Department says it has only responded to one other water rescue at Riverfront Park in the past couple of years.
The Spokane Fire Department tells me the geographical location of Riverfront Park is what makes water rescues especially dangerous in this area. The fire department urges people to stay safe around open water as the weather warms up. In Spokane, Nathan Hyun, KREM 2 News.
Central Washington's buzzing with the announcement both incumbent Dan Newhouse and Republican Tiffany Smiley are joining the race for the 4th Congressional District.
And now it's clear. The best way for me to continue my work and deliver change for Washington families is inside Congress.
Smiley previously ran for Patty Murray's congressional seat back in 2022, but lost. Washington's 4th congressional seat covers most of central Washington, including Grant, Douglas, and Okanagan counties. The race is garnering national attention because Newhouse is one of the last Republicans left in Congress who voted to impeach former President Donald Trump.
He voted to impeach President Trump and then also supported invoking the 25th Amendment. And so that's fine, like if he was voting his conscience, but I just don't see how now with President Trump Obviously, as our Republican nominee, you are going to be able to work with him.
Newhouse's campaign shared a statement with KREM 2 about Smiley entering the race, saying, quote, "With our dams under threat, a crisis at our border, and working people unable to afford gas and groceries, this is no time for Central Washington to give up its clout in Congress or to hand over the keys to the federal budget to someone who couldn't manage her own campaign's finances. We have enough big spenders in D.C. We need a fiscal conservative to represent us in Congress, and Dan Newhouse is the only one who's proven he can do just that." The two now join Republican Jared Sessler of Prosser, who Trump endorsed just last month. Sessler says he's not concerned about Smiley getting into the race.
I think that it'll probably help us to retire Dan Newhouse. And I think when the Eastern Washington voters look at my record and my history and my experience up against hers, and it's just going to be a very easy choice to make.
Newhouse has been in the top spot for the 4th Congressional District since 2015.
Spokane Mayor Lisa Brown is pumping the brakes on the levy she believes will help fill the gap on the city's massive budget deficit. But to be clear, she says the levy isn't entirely off the table.
Less than 10 days ago, Spokane's community safety levy was placed on the August ballot. Today, Mayor Brown wants to postpone the levy for additional analysis. This decision comes as the city is performing the mid-year budget review.
I firmly believe we still need a community safety levy.
Brown says she wants to make sure it's done right. That includes now taking more time to make sure the community understands the implications of the levy passage or failure. Doing this and meeting with all neighborhood councils by August, Brown says is too ambitious.
Let's get through the mid-year budget review. We're putting forward proposals to the council on efficiencies and potential reductions that the council may or may not take. I think we need to get through that process and through this more extensive process of meeting with neighborhoods and community organizations.
Today is a great day for taxpayers in our area.
This afternoon, just down the street from City Hall, those who are against the levy considered its withdrawal from the ballot a victory. Among that group was Councilmember Michael Cathcart.
I really just want to say thank you to Mayor Brown. She obviously heard the pleas and the concerns by certainly my constituents, which is why I have been so vocally opposed to this.
He believes the last thing the city should be talking about right now is the levy going onto a future ballot. He believes there are other options available to explore how to balance the budget.
We are now buying ourselves a significant amount of time to work through our budget issues, negotiate with the unions, look at how we staff and what our fire model looks like.
Mayor Brown says it may be possible to see the levy put on the November ballot, but she said that decision will be made after two things are completed: additional community engagement and the mid-year budget review is completed. Reporting in downtown Spokane, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News. So the city said this morning that independent investigation was officially done. Investigators interviewed 22 different people through that investigation, then decided that Councilmember Merkel does have a pattern and history of disrespectful and intimidating behavior. Ultimately, though, he was cleared of any legal wrongdoing. Now, this all started back on March 5th. There was a council meeting that night where Spokane Valley City Manager John Homan read a statement announcing the investigation. We spoke with Merkel that day, and he said he had no idea what the complaints could be about. The report says multiple staff members reported that Merkel made them fearful and intimidated while working at City Hall. The report includes witness reports of Merkel raising his voice and calling one person incompetent. Witnesses also say Merkel told staff they didn't know what they were doing, barged into staff members' offices unannounced, and even told staff he was there to, quote, cause trouble. They described Merkel as ill-tempered and extremely disruptive, and ultimately the investigator said Merkel violated the city's governance manual with the pattern of hostile and disrespectful behavior.
I have taken the steps of providing a separate workspace for Councilmember Merkel that is away from most city employees. He will continue to have all the resources that the other council members have to conduct his duties.
Merkel says this investigation was a waste of time and money, even going as far as calling it a political hit job. He says he's had to move his office to the basement and he has to use a back door to get in and has his own bathroom now. Merkel said he feels segregated from the rest of the council and it's unfair to the people who voted for him.
It is clearer than ever that this entire investigation has been nothing more than an ineffective council member and city bureaucrat who have been plotting since before I came to office to fight my valid questions about how the city conducts business with a conspiracy to besmirch me in order to protect their jobs and elected positions.
So both Merkel and Homan did agree on one thing. They both say they're ready to get back to city business. We also asked through all of this how much this independent investigation cost the city of Spokane Valley. They say they have not gotten the invoice back yet. In Spokane Valley, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Groceries, gas, housing, and now car insurance. Rates in Washington and around the country have been climbing. A KREM 2 viewer recently reached out to our Verify team writing, "My auto insurance jumped $62 in 1 month. We received our auto renewal and our insurance went up from $187 to $249 in 1 month. Our driving records are clean." To verify what's happening with insurance rates, we went to the Washington office of the Insurance Commissioner, the Washington Department of Transportation, and Kelly Blue Book.
We keep getting a lot of viewer emails asking what is driving up insurance rates, especially lately.
Yeah, they have gone up. We saw a notable spike last year.
That's Aaron Van Tile, the communications manager for the Office of Insurance Commissioner. He says there are 2 main factors driving up rates. The first, an increase of severe car crashes in Washington starting in around 2020.
Over that 3-year stretch, auto accidents that were occurring just got to be more severe, higher damage to the cars, more people injured. And of course, that impacted the cost of claims that insurance companies had to pay out.
Data from the Washington Department of Transportation shows the number of serious injury crashes climbed from 1,936 in 2019 to 2,875 in 2023, a whopping 48% increase. The second factor driving up rates?
The other one we've seen has been, it's a little simpler, but it's just the cost of cars went up.
According to Kelly Blue Book, the average price of a used car climbed more than $9,000 from 2019 to 2023, an increase of 43%. During that same time, the average price for a new car increased almost $11,000, or 28%. It's data Van Tile says insurers show the state as justification for raising rates.
In order for a company to request the change and get that change approved by our office, they have to provide financial statements over, recent history that show how it's justified and how it is, how it's in accordance with the law and things like that.
So we can verify that yes, auto insurance rates have increased in the state of Washington based on factors like the soaring cost of cars and a marked increase in serious crashes.
Yeah, so this actually isn't the first time No Lie has had trouble with something like this. Back in 2019, a Chicago brewery had a beer named Born and Raised, just like No Lies. That situation was a bit different because both companies had some rights to that name. This time, though, No Lie says they have the Big Juicy name fully trademarked. You'd probably recognize it, the No Lie Big Juicy IPA.
Big Juicy is a brand that's deep in our culture.
Owner John Bryant says the Big Juicy is their #1 beer in sales and revenue.
But I think more importantly, it's beginning to be a brand that represents the city.
So when another company created their own Big Juicy, John went straight to the rule book.
Rules are rules and laws are laws. That's why we file trademarks.
No Lie holds the incontestable trademark for the name Big Juicy.
Our attorney sent a note to their attorney, and they didn't. They just acknowledged it, said we strongly disagree that there's any infringement.
This all started earlier this year when No Lie says Red Hook Brewery bought a keg of their Big Juicy IPA. This photo is from the lawsuit documents showing Red Hook promoting the keg on their social media. So owners John and Cindy visited Red Hook.
John went up to the counter and said, "I'd like to have a No Lie Big Juicy." They're like, "We don't have that." And he's like, "Well, it was just on your social media that we could come in and get one." And they're like, "No, but we have a better Big Juicy."
Now, when you go to the Red Hook Brewery homepage, you see this. They're promoting their newest beer, the Big Juicy Ballard.
And for us, it's about customer confusion.
His concern, customers start to buy Red Hook's Big Juicy thinking they're supporting No Lie. John says the lawsuit is about more than just the trademark, though.
This is about building a local beer culture in this city that creates jobs for a lot of breweries.
A culture widely recognized in Spokane and one John hopes Red Hook Brewery will respect.
We should all play by the letter of the law. And if you violate it, you should fix it.
So I emailed Red Hook Brewing yesterday and asked if they had any comment or if they were planning on making any changes because of this lawsuit. They still have not responded. In studio, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Oh my goodness, everybody's all abuzz. Both our husbands are down in the extra right now. They're getting their makeup on. I'm Susie Krager from Tico, Washington. They called and said we're getting ready for makeup and they're in their outfits and everything.
I'm Shane Monroy with Tober Coffee. Everyone's talking about it. It's been pretty neat for our community.
Hi, I'm Sarah Logan.
Roger Logan.
It's called Train Dreams. That's the name of the movie.
It's just been fun to watch the crew setting up things, moving things, working so well together.
They're taping inside the Empire Theater right now, which is a funky old theater that's been here since the 30s.
I'm Shelley Osmus, and I'm the branch manager of the Tico Library. We appreciate that they picked Tico. We've learned a lot, and last night I was watching some of the crew take some of our kids kind of under wing and let them watch everything that was going on.
One of the site managers lives in Spokane, and he heard that they needed an old town with brick buildings and an old theater, and he said, I've just the place.
Tonight, some of our local folks will get a chance to be in the theater as part of the audience of what they're going to be doing tonight.
My name is Mason Trotter. I'm from Waverly, Washington. I saw the set signs on my way home from work, and I'm like, okay, well, my mom, we usually do this stuff all the time. We followed the signs, and on a whim, I asked to be an extra, and here I am.
Hi, I'm Leslie Younger. I have a friend who's been doing some of these productions, and he told me about it, and I thought, hey, I'm retired. Sounds like a good job for me. We've done hair and makeup and wardrobe, and it's just been a fun time.
Hi, I'm Melody Bailey. I'm from Spokane, Washington. I signed up for the talent agency last year after I got diagnosed with a rare cancer called neuroendocrine cancer. So I am considered disabled now, and this is just a good thing for me to do during my downtime. I absolutely love this jacket and this hat. And they just did some touch-ups to my makeup, so I have really fun, cute makeup. I feel a little bit like Mary Poppins, but...
Have you seen any of the stars of the film?
No. I was hoping to see William Macy, but...
It's a quiet little town. Not much goes on here, so this is pretty exciting.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for it at the bottom of the navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.